It's time for Mac Geek Gab, and I will bring us our quick tip of the week with iOS 17's offline maps. This is going to be something that will save your bacon someday, so do it now. Once you've got iOS 17 installed on your iPhone, launch Maps, tap your picture in the lower right, choose offline maps, and download a new map or maps if you go into different areas. And then this way, and you can even set it while you're in there to only do downloads on Wi-Fi, to do automatic updates, to optimize storage, all of these things that are going to save your bacon someday when you are out and about and either are in an area with no coverage or you're out of data or whatever, and you've got offline maps. I actually wound up using this last week because I had set it up just to test the feature when I had the beta running. And I was so happy that I had done it. So you can do it too. More quick tips like this, plus your questions answered today on Mac Geek Gab 1000 for Monday, September 18th, 2023. And welcome to Mac Geek Gab, the show where we share quick tips like that from us and from you. Cool stuff found. We also share questions from you and from us. We try to answer your questions. And, we string this all together in a way that gives us all the best possible opportunity to learn at least 5 new things every single time we get together. Sponsors for this episode include linkedin.com/MGG, where you can go and post your first job for free. I have used this. It's fantastic. We'll talk more about it in depth in the episode. For now, I was going to say for the 1000th time, but I haven't done 1,000 episodes here in Durham, New Hampshire. But for today, here in Durham, New Hampshire, I'm Dave Hamilton.
And here in another part of Durham, New Hampshire, very close to Dave Hamilton, it's me, Pilot Pete. 1,000 times a millennial show.
I know. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Pretty cool.
It's crazy. Yeah. We'll do, we prepped a couple of things that we'll talk about the 1,000th episode. And I'm glad that we did. It's not my inclination to pat myself on the back. The reason we got here is because we focus on the content. We focus on you. The show's about you. It's not about us. But it is important to take a minute and celebrate this, and we will take that minute in a little bit. But for now, let's do more quick tips, shall we, Pete?
I think we should. But see, using the word "should," you didn't even use the word "should" in the opening quick tip. You just said, "Just go do it."
Go do it. Go do it. Yeah,
go do it now.
Yeah, go do it now. That's right.
But we should do some quick tips. I'm just saying.
I agree. You want to take us to Kent here to continue those along?
Yeah, Kent it is. He wrote in, "Hi Dave and Pete. I don't know if this is a quick tip and it doesn't really fit in the usual cool stuff found, so maybe it slips in between somewhere." And I think he may be right. But he says, "My wife recently had a medical issue, and while she recovers, her friends on social media and elsewhere want to send her cards of encouragement. I don't want to publish our address in a general Facebook post, so I've asked anyone who wants to private message me. In responding using iOS and iPadOS, I've found that if I type our address is, the autocorrect/predictive text line just above the keyboard populates with our address. I assume from my contact card, and it's just a tap, and it's done." He says this works in Apple Mail, Messages, Facebook Messenger, at least, and it's saved me a lot of typing already. I wrote him back and said, not only is that a great quick tip, it does work on Mac OS, or does not work on Mac OS that I'm able to find, at least in Messages. I said, however, if you want to go into system settings, accessibility, keyboard, and text replacements, you can put all manner of shortcuts in there too. It's a poor man's text expander. And said, for example, I use "ST," and that's my abbreviation for my home address, "ST."
Yeah, okay. And, whatever you need it to be.
Yeah.
Right.
And then "FL" if I need to put our Florida address in or something like that. And I so along those lines, I do the same thing with my cell phone number.
Yes.
I think, I use "cell," and that prints out my whole cell number. And then I use D-cell as one word for Debbie's cell phone
I need to
number.
put Lisa's cell phone number in mine because I do the same thing. I have a shortcut for my cell.
Yeah.
So I don't fat finger it whenever I'm typing it in. I do the same for my email addresses,
Yeah.
so I don't
But when
fat finger
I need to
those.
give somebody Debbie's cell number, I just type D-cell.
I have to give people Lisa's number all the time. That's a great idea. I just want to offer.
Okay, everybody, Lisa's number is 603. Oh.
Yeah, she'd be real happy about that.
Don't kill me, Lisa.
Yeah, that's right.
Just kidding.
If I do that, we'd need to hire separate attorneys.
Right.
You mentioned getting there via accessibility. That's not how I would go there.
Oh, okay.
I would go into settings, general keyboard text replacement.
Okay.
And I say that way because you might be able to get there through accessibility. I've just never gone that way. I don't think it's there that way.
That's pretty much how I found it.
Okay.
So,
all right. Yeah.
I will stand appropriately corrected if I did miss
Sure.
it.
Yeah, well, you've heard at least one way that I know to be accurate to get there, but you might have heard two. So, yeah, there you go. Yeah.
What are the odds Apple made two paths to that?
It's rare for them. You know, it's rare, but it happens. Yeah. All right, you want to take us to what might be my favorite quick tip of the week with Steven?
Yeah, was this great or what? Just played Mac Geek Gab 997. And I have an add-on or two to your tips about music recognition in the control center. Tapping on the music recognition button activates the recognition, but if you hold down the button, it pops up a scrolling list of your music search history. Tapping anything in that history list opens that track to play in Apple Music.
I was blown away by this.
Yeah.
I had no idea. And this is why we
love these things.
Well,
right?
it's why we love these things. Correct. Yes. Yeah. But also why when you've got an extra minute, long pressing on things, control clicking on things, option clicking on things on your Mac. There are these hidden little gems that remain hidden until you know about them. And then they just, kind of work all the time. So, yeah.
And don't be afraid to break it because, what's the worst that could happen? You could wind up with a syncing issue like me.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
That's a whole pre-show, not a joke.
No, and it persists through the show, Pete, unfortunately. Yeah. Yep. I'm going to jump us ahead just because we're talking about Shazam. I'm going to jump us ahead to a question from JT here because JT asks, he says, Shazam defaults to Apple Music to play the songs that it finds. I'm a Spotify user first, though, and I prefer Spotify for many reasons, mainly because Apple has messed up music, in JT's opinion, since the iPhone 6 release. I would like a shortcut that sends it to Spotify. Is there a way to do this? And actually, you don't even need a shortcut, JT, nor do any of the rest of us need a shortcut. Go into the settings for Shazam. So you need the full Shazam app installed, which you can do for free. And then you can connect Spotify or Apple Music to Shazam. You can only have one of them connected, but if you go into the Shazam settings, so iPhone settings, and then choose Shazam from the list of apps, you'll see that you can connect either Apple Music or Spotify. And if you have one connected and you go to connect the other, it will disconnect the first one. But you can happily connect it to Spotify, which I was shocked. I don't know what made me think to go into the settings and see that, but because I typed a whole response like, no, I don't think there's a way to do this, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, wait, why do I think that? I should confirm. And so sure enough, you can do it. So I love answering a question when I get to learn too. So,
right.
Yep.
I mean, that's a beautiful thing.
Yep. There it is. Yes, exactly. Back to quick tips. You got one from listener Clif, Pete?
Yeah. I'm sorry, Cliff. Fist shake at you. I'm the expert here about flight, all things flight. No sneaking up on me with a quick tip I didn't know about, but.
All right. I think he did.
The definition of expert. X is a algebraic term for quantity unknown, and spurt is a drip under pressure. So that's me. All right. Quick tip. In messages, if someone sends you text with an airline flight code in it, for example, UA as in uniform alpha, space 1449 is recognized by the app, and if tapped, will allow you to pre-flight the flight info right there on a pop-up screen. No need to copy and paste and go into FlightAware or Flighty or anything like that. You just tap on that and goes right to it. You'd see the progress of the flight, how much longer till it lands, if it landed, all that good stuff.
And I think it uses FlightAware to do that.
It may well.
I think that's the back-end database. But you're right. It's a data detector is what we used to call those things. I don't know if that's still the right answer, or the right terminology. But yes, it detects like UA. You called it Uniform Alpha, which is of course the NATO phonetic alphabet. But we plebeians think of that as United Airlines.
That. And I played with it, and of course my phone is now my camera. I think Delta is DAL, not DL. It may be DL space and then the flight number. So you're going to have to play with it for your airline to see what you come up with. For you fellow cargo dogs, I can assure you UPS and FedEx and DHL are not included in the database.
No, at least not in the data detector. I think they are in the...
You can get us on FlightAware.
Database on FlightAware, correct. Yeah. All right. While we are cooking along, we have a ton of quick tips left. We're going to save some for the next episode, which has yet another fun number, 1001. 2 palindromes in 3 episodes. I'm into this. But while we're here, because today, at least the day this episode's releasing, is iOS 17 release day, I wanted to go through and share some quick tips about iOS 17. I know we started with the maps. The next one I want to share is we get a new widget in Control Center, but we have to add it. It's not added by default when you upgrade to iOS 17. And that is, you go into Settings, you go to Control Center, and add the Ping My Watch widget. So now, if you don't know where your watch is, just like you could ping your phone from your watch, now you can you can go to Control Center and ping your watch from your phone. So that's one of them. Yep. JT Ray brings us our next one. So JT has been in the episode twice now at the 12-minute mark. Reminds us, he says, in iOS 17, you can set an automation in the Shortcuts app now to turn off cellular data based on your location. This was not doable with Shortcuts in iOS 16 and prior. He says, I've been using this for the past few weeks on the betas, and it works like a charm. Now I can simply use my home or office Wi-Fi to make calls and save some battery. So you can say, when I'm connected to my home Wi-Fi, turn off cellular data. When I disconnect from my home Wi-Fi, re-enable cellular data. And then that way.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. So
we back up to that previous quick tip.
Sure. Yeah. Sorry. I didn't mean to jump us out.
No. I just realized something that I think I saw that you can now Find My Friends, similar to for instance, if you're looking for your AirPods, you pull up Find My, and it gives you an arrow 20 feet in that direction, that sort of thing. I did it in the old version of iOS in IKEA down in Florida, but I was just guessing. Okay, they're in that general direction and that sort of thing. But it looks like now under Find My, it gives you the arrow and 80 feet away. Or
I think that is true, but the asterisk is
they have to be sharing.
They have to have a phone with ultra wideband Bluetooth in it. That just like your AirPods or an AirTag does. And I believe the only phones that have that are the iPhones 15. Right. Yeah. So
sorry, I'm not buying the whole family 15.
Eventually you will have.
Eventually I will.
Yeah.
But right now I haven't got $5,000 to drop on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, same. Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah. So yes, there is that, but I'm pretty sure, like, I don't think I can do that.
I was able to use Find My and zoom in a lot and get a general direction of to where they were in the IKEA, and I did find them. But, but I was thinking, oh man, it would be so much nicer to be able to have, they're in this direction.
It's the iPhone 15 thing is we're getting in the chat here. So thank you everybody. Yeah, that's great. On the Mac, we have long used Spotlight to get to specific system settings panes, right? You want to get to displays. We've talked about it here on the show. You type displays, right? You get Spotlight open. That was not the case in iOS until we now have iOS 17. So you can get directly to settings panes by spotlighting yourself there. I will say that the adjustment to the way Spotlight and the more granular data, or simply the increased amount of data that you get in Spotlight, is one of the things that has thrown me off the most about running iOS 17. So expect that, because I use iOS 17 to launch apps all the time. Now that there is more data in there, the app I want isn't necessarily at the top of the list anymore. I have to scroll a little to find it because there's more stuff. So bear that. And maybe I should check this.
You can type to find it, right? I used to just go into settings and then pull my thumb down a little bit to get a search window at the top.
You can do that in settings, but now you can just do it Spotlight wide. Correct.
That's awesome.
Yep. I want to look at my Spotlight Siri and search preferences. Yes. And I can't set the order anymore. Huh. Well, you know what? I should look for Spotlight.
Should not be alphabetic or?
It used to be.
Yeah. And I'll state this while you're looking at that.
No,
expect
it's not
a lot of things to be broken or different, be it watchOS, iOS, that sort of thing. I'm still hitting the wrong button on the new watchOS when I want to look at my I guess it's Control Center, listing all the apps that I have open. I hit the side button. Well, that isn't it anymore. You have to now scroll up. They've inverted those two, and I can years of hitting the side button now has to go away. So expect that to break some of your workflows. Eventually, I'm sure we'll get it in time for Apple to switch it back.
Yeah. Ben in the chat is saying that running iOS 16, he can use Spotlight to get to specific settings panes. Okay. So it might be that it was all. It's interesting because I noticed this. I had it on my list, and then I saw a list that Tom's Hardware had published of things that you might not notice in iOS 17, and that was also on their list. So either we're seeing slightly different things, or both whoever wrote it at Tom's Hardware and I did not notice it before because maybe it was in a different order. So maybe it's simply that this reordering of Spotlight is what we're noticing. So thank you for that, Ben. Yeah, we'll have to, obviously we will continue talking about iOS 17 and how all that works. So keep it coming. Feedback at MacGeekGab.com still works.
Well, feedback at MacGeekGab.com?
Yep. 1,000 episodes. We're not going to change it now, Pete. Feedback at MacGeekGab.com. Although it wasn't originally feedback at MacGeekGab.com. It was an address at a domain I no longer own, so I just don't even want to say it in the show because if you email it, I won't get it. Yeah. So, but yes.
I have a question.
Yeah? Does
feedback at MacGeekGab.com still work?
Unfortunately, yes, it still works, Pete. And I really,
sorry.
I am appreciative of you
it's what I do.
For a lot of things. And I just couldn't be more appreciative of you for bringing that up.
I can sense that in your voice, Dave.
Yeah, good.
Have some fun with it, folks.
That's right. Safari in iOS 17 has even more tracking and fingerprint protection. We're not talking about your fingerprints that you would use on a Touch ID sensor. We're talking about a figurative fingerprint that describes how people might pull different heuristics about you, not just your IP address, but not just the cookies that you have installed in your browser, but different behaviors that can really narrow down exactly who you are. And Apple wants to keep people from doing that to us. And so they keep increasing this stuff. The advanced tracking and fingerprint protection on my phone was enabled by default for private browsing only, but now you can enable it for all browsing. And you do that by going into settings on your iPhone and iPad, Safari. So go into the Safari settings, into advanced, and then it is advanced tracking and fingerprint protection, and you can change it from off, private browsing, or all browsing. So that's another one to check. Also in Safari, Pete, I noticed a fun little thing. If you're on a web page, once the page loads, you get in the URL bar, you get the two little A's, right, that give you a bunch of options, right? You can put it into reader mode and do all sorts of things. there's a new one on there called Listen to Webpage. And you press that and it will start reading you the article from the webpage. You can control the playback in the now playing widget in the control center. That was a fun thing to figure out, by the way, because I started it playing and then I was like, cool.
Now how do I shut her up?
I don't want it to go for 3 minutes now. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, yep.
Oh, that is
so
awesome.
Now playing widget will show you the title of the web page, how long it's going to be for it to read it. Like it figures that out. Yeah. So yeah, it's pretty good.
Here's the thing. I bet I could be wrong, but my guess is it will then read it. If you have a PDF pulled up in a web page, it will read that PDF for you.
I would assume.
And oh man,
yeah,
that is a great way to get some reading done while you're driving.
Yeah. I mean, you would. Well, no, it would work, but you would, like, I don't know, you would have to ask Siri to get that going for you somehow.
Yeah.
Like, because otherwise you're going to pick up your phone and make
I'm thinking, look, I know I've got to do some, I have
pre-prep
a 30-page PDF.
Got it.
Load it up and then tell it to start reading and then hit pause. And then when I'm up and running on the road, just reach up and hit play and go.
That's a good idea. I have not tried that, but I like that idea. Yeah. I hope it doesn't. I hope it keeps playing it even after like the screen goes to sleep or what those different things.
Because last week I had to go to Atlantic City for some training, and there was a 35-page document I needed to pre-read, and I'm like, oh, I didn't read it before I left the house. So after a 8-hour drive, which should have been about a 7-hour drive, thank you traffic.
Yeah.
I had to then get exhausted into a hotel room and try and read it without falling asleep. That was work.
That's tough.
I actually had to stand up and walk while I was reading.
Yeah, I believe it.
Fall asleep.
Yeah, but you're right. Yeah, reading that I like this. All right. Yeah. Huh. All right, we're gonna play with this again. Send your stuff into us. One last one that I've noticed is I have noted. I did something in the car the other night. We were driving back from Boston. I wanted to know a fact. I had other people in the car that could have looked it up for me, but I was driving and we were talking about, I don't know, something stupid or whatever. And I wanted to know something. And so I asked Siri, I'm like, how does this work or something like that? And I fully expected.
I can't show you that in the car.
Bingo. That's what I expected to hear because it's, and my response is always, I don't want you to show it to me. I asked you about it audibly. I want you to tell me audibly. Yeah. Now she doesn't like it when I say that, but it that's what I say.
Yeah.
I found halfway through her answer, Pete, that I did not have to say that because she was giving me the answer as I would have desired, not as I anticipated.
Yeah.
So, like, I know Apple said Siri gets better in iOS 17.
Okay.
It turns out it does.
What are the odds?
Everybody in the car was like, "Hey, wait a minute, she's actually doing it." So, we'll see.
What amazed me always is there seemed to be no consistency. Sometimes you would ask it and get it, and then other times I can't show that to you. Well,
we did 3 or 4 things in the car the other night, and all of them worked. So it was definitely more than we would have expected in the past. Yeah.
And here's another anecdotal observation. Maybe I have noticed for years that dictation works better on the watch than on the phone. And that's, again, purely anecdotal.
Okay.
It's been my observation that if for some reason, I don't know if it shouldn't be, it's the same architecture.
Yeah. I would expect the phone to be better at it because it's got a better processor. Yeah. Although the new watch, I know Jeff and I talked about this the other day, but the CPU on that thing, I mean, it's a remarkable increase.
Yeah. Neural learning cores.
Yeah, exactly. Ben in the chat at macgeekgab.com /PorthosJon in the chat says there is a new way to make settings deep links appear in Spotlight in iOS 17. You go into settings, Siri and search, and then settings again. And you have to make sure you turn it on to surface it in iOS 17. You can also reset the suggestions learning there. Interesting. So you go into Siri and search, and you can have suggestions appear. But now my Discord thing is scrolling because I'm reading this live. But
people are quit writing to us.
No, keep writing, keep writing. No, it's totally fine. Yeah, interesting. So you can have these show content in search. All right. Yeah, that's interesting. I like it. I like it. I like it. Cool. One last one. That's probably two. One is my first of this. These are two about CarPlay. The first is not new to iOS 17, but because I was messing around with it, I was reminded of CarPlay's split screen view. I got so accustomed to just seeing, like, if I had maps up, to just having maps up in full screen view. Mm-hmm. But in the lower left-hand corner of CarPlay, you can press the little button that splits it into split screen, and you get, you're now playing widget and other things appear.
So it's easy to pause things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just forgotten about it, and in messing around, I was reminded, and I'm like, I bet I'm not the only one. So I figured share it on the show. In iOS 17, what we get in CarPlay is what I'll call the layered view. When I am interacting with like messages or something with iOS 16, the map goes away on the screen, right? The messages thing just comes up. With iOS 17, you can still see what's behind it and get a little bit, at least, of the app that you're actually in while you're interacting with, say, messages and all of that. So,
and one quick question about CarPlay that I meant to mess with it the other day, and I kept forgetting to do it.
Sure.
So I had Maps on one page and Google Maps on another page. Can you rearrange where the icons are in CarPlay?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The way that you do it is you go into settings, and I believe it's just settings CarPlay.
Okay.
Am I right on this? Is there a CarPlay setting? I know it's somewhere. Maybe it's settings general CarPlay. If I was smarter, Pete, I would search for this, but I want to be able to tell people how to get there. So it's settings general CarPlay, and then you will see all of the cars listed that you connect to. Right. And so you pick the car that you want to customize, and then once you're in there, choose customize, and it will show you a list of all of your apps.
Perfect.
Right. And you can set the order of them or remove them entirely from the list there.
Yeah,
so
if you want to hold that up again briefly, I've got you large now.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So if you're watching the video, you can see my CarPlay apps, and it's not going to focus, right? Because that's just how it be. But yes, you can set that order. Oh gosh, don't hit reset, Dave. Don't do the wrong thing. Okay. But
maybe
yeah,
about 2000, the camera will focus on your.
Yeah, that's right. Well, we'll get there. That's right. 2000. That's another 18 years, maybe. As my son said the other day, he's like, if you just start doing 3 episodes a week, Dad, you're gonna be fine. Yeah, you're gonna be totally fine. All right, look, here at Mac Geek Gab, we wouldn't have made it to 1,000 episodes without having the right team around us, supporting us, making things happen, and that includes Sadie, who we brought on a few years ago, and she does all of the social media stuff. She does so much for us. And we would not have been able to find Sadie without our sponsor, LinkedIn Jobs. You got to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available. And that's why you need to check out LinkedIn Jobs, right? They make it super easy to help you find the right people for your team faster and for free. The first thing you do is you go and post free job posting at LinkedIn Jobs at linkedin.com/MGG, right? Then you add your job and the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring. And they've got these super simple tools at LinkedIn Jobs, like these screening questions that make it really easy to focus in on the candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and then eventually, of course, hire. It makes such a difference to have access to this huge pool of people. And like I said, we wouldn't have found Sadie in our circles. That's the circle where we found her. And this is why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk with faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/MGG. That's linkedin.com/MGG to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. And our thanks to LinkedIn Jobs for sponsoring this episode. As I mentioned, we hit 1,000 episodes, Pete, and it really is kind of amazing. You had the fantastic idea you had gone back and listened to the first episode, MGG number 1, which was not called Mac Geek Gab. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, that's the correct response, especially in today's world, right? Like it was not, well,
it was not high energy, shall we say.
I took a segment out of the intro of it here that I'm just going to play, and you get to compare and contrast.
TMOToGo for the week of June 13th, 2005. Greetings, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. This is TMOToGo. This is the inaugural edition. I'm Dave Hamilton. I'm here with John Braun. Hi, John.
Evening, Dave.
And we will come to you on a weekly basis talking about all things Mac. John and I are geeks from way, way back. And,
yes.
yes.
Bulletin boards.
The bulletin board days. That's right.
Yeah,
That's
and modems.
Yeah. What's a modem, John?
Mm-hmm. Yep,
Yeah.
but they were on Apples.
They were on Apples.
Macs.
Apple IIs, but Apples is...
Yeah, that's how it began.
Settle down, everyone. It's your hearts. It's okay. Take a deep breath. It's calm now.
But yeah, we called it TMOToGo because, of course, it started at the Mac Observer, and we thought we were just going to be talking about sort of the events of the week, and so it was going to be the Mac Observer to go.
Yeah.
And it was after we recorded that episode, but before we released it, that I was like, yeah, we got to come up, maybe that name, like, I don't know. And that's when Lisa was like, why not call it the Geek Gab? And I was like, as with most things, she's much smarter than me. And so it was like, oh man, I'm like, well, and this is where I ruined it. I was like, no, it should be Mac Geek Gab. Now, of course, I didn't predict that there was going to be an iPhone or an iPod that we were going to talk about or any of that stuff, right? So yeah, that's on me. She said I should have called it the Geek Gab, and I don't think this name is bad, but it's like obviously we talk about more than Macs here. Yeah. So yeah, you know,
Apple and then some. Now,
again, she was smarter and more prescient than me, which just sticks up. You know that's how it goes. That's just how it is. Yeah, this is a fact that I have come to accept in my life. Yeah, it's been amazing. It's crazy how to think that I never thought. I really didn't think. I mean, we talked about this. It's interesting. I say that I don't like to spend a lot of time congratulating us or even reminiscing because I like doing the content of the show.
Yeah.
However, as we were prepping this, I realized that Pete, you, and maybe you weren't intentional about this, maybe you were, but the last several episodes, you have navigated us into moments of reminiscing. We told the Steve Jobs story. We told the Shazam story. And so there's been more of that.
A little bit.
Oh, yeah.
But there's,
which has been good.
Well, exactly. That's the thing, though, about this show is there's so many good things about it, and it doesn't hurt to go back a little bit for people who are joining us all the time, which is a good thing.
You're totally right.
So, yeah.
No, it's not my inclination, but I am wrong. Just like I was wrong about the name TMOToGo. Yeah. There are things I am wrong about. My bullheaded persistence and my impatience definitely keeps me from stopping and reflecting. And I mean, I think in a general sense, that's probably a good thing, right? It keeps me from living in a cardboard box.
Exactly. It
right?
does, and you're not in your own echo chamber.
Exactly.
And that's a good thing. And I've got to say that, bad word alert, folks. Every now and then in life, you fall ass backwards into a good deal. Right. And this has kind of been mine. And it's been just amazing. What you and John started and built and invited me into fairly early on. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. And now that John is gone, so many well wishes have come in for him. And that's been a wonderful thing. Yep. That John's doing his own thing. And I've kind of stepped in here. I can't possibly fill his shoes. So the show is evolving.
Absolutely.
But I'm thrilled with the comments we're getting too along here at where the show is going, but it's only because, and I know you folks will correct us if we ever get to the point where we're making the show about us. If we do that, the show's over. But making it about you and the things you send in and that you share with us, and that you correct us when we're either slightly inaccurate or completely
dead
off
wrong.
base or dead wrong. Not that ever happens, but if it were to, I'm sure you'd do that.
It doesn't happen to you. It happens to me.
Oh,
Yeah.
But no, and so it's such a thrill to be a part of this and to watch it evolve and be part of the evolution is I'm just blessed. That's all I can say. That's the best word I have.
Same. Oh no, this is I talk all the time about how I lead a charmed life, and I believe that. Like I know this to be true. Now, it's not accidentally charmed, at least not all of it. I certainly am extremely lucky and extremely fortunate, but a lot of it is like that bullheaded persistence. And I have two emails that I want to read that we love these kinds of emails, by the way. These are the fuel that keep us going. We rarely read these kinds of things on the show because, again, we don't like to just sit and congratulate ourselves. I love it when you congratulate us. Don't get me wrong. That reminder that, yes, there are people out there and it's appreciated. But the timing of these two emails that I have from Rich and from Kent, I want to share here as part of this kind of retrospective moment that we're having, because they really, really hit the nail on the head for me.
Yeah, as you're about to read them, let me say this.
Sure.
You can see the number of downloads. You can see people are downloading the show.
Absolutely.
These letters prove people are listening
Correct.
to the show.
That's it. Yes.
You're listening. And
this is way more important to me than downloads. Yes, absolutely. This comes from Rich, and we have been really pushing our reviews a lot and getting a lot of reviews, which is great. You can go to macgeekgab.com/reviews. That's the closest we can get you to being able to review, to start your review on the, or even updating your review on the Apple Podcast Store. But Rich says, look, evidently there's a character limit on how long a review can be for a podcast. So it cut mine off. I wanted you to see the full review. And so I will read his full reviews from Rich W. It says, I do not write reviews. However, this time I felt like I needed to. This podcast is one of the best I have listened to in a very long time. Dave and Pete always strive for the listeners and sometimes themselves to learn 5 new things on each show. I didn't think that was possible, but so far they have succeeded. Over the course of the past few shows, I've learned something I didn't think I would from this podcast. It was not just all things Mac. It was a combination of taking Apple scripts and other ideas to solve for a problem my friend had. Both Dave and Pete contributed to my aha moment. Thank you both. I've been working on a solution, but did not find a way to fix the issue without your out-of-the-box thinking by putting a few different ideas, processes, and technologies together to ultimately help me solve my own problem. This is definitely a moment. This is the part where if I'm going to cry ever on Mac Geek Gab, this is it. This is definitely a moment of teach someone to fish. Because of this and all of your guidance and help through the shows, I just signed up to be an MGG Premium member. Thank you, Rich W. Rich, this is like that teach someone to fish moment. You calling it out that way, it really just warms my, and like, this is what we do.
Right.
This is it, and we learn to fish too. Like, we are in this with you. I said it earlier, like, I forget what question it was we were talking about or whatever. It was like, oh yeah, JT Ray's thing, like the Spotify thing. I didn't know that was possible until I started researching it because JT's question came in.
Right.
And so it's, thanks for teaching us all to fish. That's like,
exactly.
We're all in this together.
Get your own hook.
Yeah. But
you can do it.
That's it is. I don't say it on the show often, but I say it in kind of a PR way a lot is, you don't have to be a nerd to listen, but if you listen long enough, you will become one.
Yes, you will.
Right. So, yeah. And then I did want to read Kent's message, which I got to find here. Kent had, we were going back and forth on an email with a problem that we would really never dig into on the show just because it's very specific to what Kent's dealing with. Now, it's really not that specific. It was an issue with his Synology. He was he was syncing his home folder to his Synology disk station, okay, and wanted to point the Synology's music indexing functions at that to be used for like audio station and iTunes sharing and all that good stuff. So great. And he was saying it won't let me, and it's complaining about things in the folder names. And so he sent me, I'm like, well, send me a screenshot. And he did. And I think it was his wife's iMac. And so it said like, Cindy's iMac or something. I don't have it right in front of me. And there was an apostrophe, right? Cindy apostrophe S space iMac. And I'm like, right. That's going to cause issues. I'm like, that apostrophe is probably throwing off the Synology engine that's doing this. So there's a couple of things to do. One is literally rename the folder. And then the other would be maybe try escaping it, right? With putting a backslash before the apostrophe, because that's a way of telling like databases that all you want's the apostrophe. You're not ending the text field or whatever. So he wrote us back and he said, I've had success, but not exactly in the way we were headed. He says, I tried escaping the apostrophe, but I got the same error. I renamed the backup location from having the apostrophe and the space to like, Cindy's iMac to simply iMac, same error message. So he says, I went into Carbon Copy Cloner, which is what he was using to, copy this over, created a new backup of just my music media to a different folder on the Synology within the default music folder, simply called media. And then Synology allowed me to create the path. He says, thank you for pointing me in the right direction. And this is that bullheaded persistence, right? That we talk about on the show all the time. When I was doing on-site consulting, but even with this, I would have an idea, right? Like this, and it would head me down a path that wouldn't lead to the solution right away, right? Like this didn't, but it gets you moving, and then you just stick with it long enough and just keep trying different little things. That bullheaded persistence, that's what carries you to the end, right? And so I was super happy to get Kent's email about this, because it reinforced that. I don't know. It meant a lot. It was good. Yeah. So thank you. Yeah.
Well, so this is show 1000. As you mentioned, next week is another palindromic show.
Yes.
And then, but the big show, so to speak, of any celebration, that's coming up in about 5 months and some change, right?
Yeah. 24 episodes. Yeah, I think so. Because, 1024, that's MGG 1K, right?
Right.
So if you have any ideas while you're listening to this, and you're thinking, oh, it would have been cool if for the 1000th episode they did X. Well, good news, because we have MGG 1K coming up. So send in your stuff, feedback@macgeekgab.com, or if you're a premium listener, premium@macgeekgab.com. And while we are here, I do want to take a minute and thank the premium listeners from whom we have received contributions in the last couple of weeks, right? Because we didn't do it in the last episode. So thank you for your time, and I will do this here. So thank you to all of you here. $10 from Stephen in Costa Mesa, $100 from Stephen, a different Stephen in Woodland, $10 each from Olga in Bellevue, Tony in Middleborough, Robert in Columbiana, and Jason in Charlestown. $25 each from Matt in Midlothian, Eric in Trondheim, Jonathan in Tempe, Robert in Oro Valley, John in Houston, Bruce, Jeff, and Daniel from places I don't know, Drake in Honolulu, and Joe from a place I don't know. $10 each from Cal in Russellville, Chris in Chorleywood, and Donald in Furlong. $25 from Pierre Timo, and I forget what country Pierre Timo is in, and David in Chicago. And then $10 each from Neil in West Hartford, Scott in Bourbonnais, Peter in Auburn, Abel in Santa Rosa, James in San Antonio, Mark in Coopersburg, Frank in Tunbridge, Barry in Des Plaines. Barry was our #1 premium subscriber, the first one. You're all #1 in our hearts. Barry was just first, that's all. Timothy in West Windsor, Frank in Voorhees, and Bob in La Peche. And then $25 each from Bob in Hamilton, Michael in Woodbine, and Domenico in Holbrook. And then $30 from David in Villa Park. Thank you to each and every one of you. If you want to learn more about the premium program, it is available at macgeekgab.com/premium. If you have any thoughts about how to evolve the program, we are always open to it. You have been the defining voice in what that program is. And you really have. We used to give extra content that was behind a paywall. You said, please stop doing that. We want everybody to hear the content, which really, like, you know, after this last discussion, you already know that warms my heart. Really what everybody wants is to send us everybody that's part of the premium program has said they want is to send us their support. And for that, you do get access to that premium at macgeekgab.com email address that we do answer first, although we do try to get to everything that comes in. So if you want other things from the premium program, please tell us. We will get to it. And now I want to answer some questions, Pika. Can we be done now with the patting ourselves on the back?
Yeah. Ow, my arm hurts.
Okay. Thank you. Seriously, thank you to all of you for allowing us to keep doing this. It's amazing. So cool. It really is. It really is. It's amazing. Yeah. Yeah. I meant to look, Pete, at what episode was the first one that you actually spoke on. And I know how to go back and look this up, but you were here as a fly on the wall for at least one before you had a microphone.
Yeah. And it's I want to say it was in the 80s, somewhere in the 80s.
Not the 1980s.
Yeah. Well, that too, way back when.
Yeah.
Because I recall being here for show 100 and helping do some production stuff with them.
Right. Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah, it was double digits.
In fact, at some point, I was the one. I recall who said, "Hey, you should do this live, not just you and John chatting."
Really? That was your fault?
I'm pretty sure I'm the one that really hosed you over on that.
Huh. I'm looking.
We should do a live show so we can answer questions live. And
I'm looking at Mac Geek Gab 100 here, and I don't see your name mentioned. Well, just because your name wasn't mentioned doesn't mean you weren't here. Yeah. I have a memory of doing Mac Geek Gab.
Might have been a 200. It was some.
Like I remember, I was sitting the opposite way. My desk was on the other side of this alcove, and I remember being here that night for 100, and we did live stream it. Yep. So that may well have been your idea. It's like, that's possible. But I remember, I think I got up and like did a drum roll on the snare drum or something like. Yeah. But I have a memory of being the only one in the room. But it could be that I'm remembering a different episode than 100. I'm looking to see. Yeah, we just didn't mention who was here for 200, nor did we mention who was here. And just in the show notes, I don't think we mentioned who was here for. You were definitely here for 300.
Yeah.
So yeah.
We'll find it by next week.
We will. Yeah. All right, let's now. Joe has a very timely question, so therefore it is time for it. Joe says, "I'm buying the new iPhone 15 Pro Max." Nice. In recent years, I have always set up new phones by bringing my previous phone nearby and letting it wirelessly do its thing. I do back up my iPhone to my Mac with encryption enabled, and I wondered if there is any advantage if I set up my new iPhone from that backup instead of just letting it do the migration from the old phone. It's a good question, obviously, like I said, very timely. I've always done it as you have, Joe, at least since we've been able to do that. That isn't something we've always been able to do. We used to have to do it from a backup, but now you don't have to do it from a backup. You don't even have to do it from an iCloud backup. You can just like put the phones next to each other. You scan the one from the camera with the other, and then it just kind of magically does its thing. And it really works. There was a day when those local backups, because they were not encrypted, did not include any sensitive data like passwords and health. I don't think we had health data on there, but certainly not passwords and those sorts of things. So that's why I defaulted to using either an iCloud backup or, once we could, just the migration from one to the other. So I would say that all else being equal, I would use the wireless migration that you have been using, Joe. but if you're on like a data limited Wi-Fi connection or not on Wi-Fi at all, and but even then, I think I'd still do this path, like, because I'm trying to think. When you do that path, you get all the data from your phone, you get all your settings, but then it downloads all the apps from the store. But that's going to happen even if you restore from a local backup. It's not going to put your app binaries in that backup,
Right,
or is it?
think.
Does it? It might. Like the local backups might have backups of your app binaries, and it might put those right on. So if you're on data limited, that might be a reason to do that.
Tell you what, buy 2 phones, send one here. I'll test that for you and let you know what.
Did you order a new phone? We're recording this on Friday the 15th, so right after phones went on sale.
Yeah, no, I was going to. I had it all set up to go last night, and then I didn't when I got up this morning. I'm really jonesing for one because I've got a 12 Pro Max, and I'm like, okay, it's been 3 years. It's time for a new phone, but man, $650 is the only trade-in that they're giving. I'm kind of thinking I could get a little more for that if I sell mine outright. It's an unlocked, type thing. But it's like, there we go. But I'll tell you what, reading in the comments here, it looks like Michael Ehrman wrote, he says, after 90 minutes online, I decided to call my carrier for the 15 Pro Max. 15 minutes later, on my 6-minute hold, I gave up. He says, I think the 15 is going to be a hit for Apple. So,
yeah.
And I think so, too, with the new processor in it and all that. It's that's a good thing. I think Ken Ray pointed it out a couple days ago. He says it just felt like when you were buying the 14, you were getting the 13 in a new wrapper,
right,
because of the processors being the same and all that. And he goes, I think he used kind of icky. Nice turn, Ken. But but yeah, I mean, this is borderline revolutionary. It's evolutionary, but the camera in it is more amazing stuff, and it'll do the what's it called? Don't get old. It's bad for your memory. For the headset, it'll do the
spatial video. Yes, exactly. No, it's interesting. To run back to the backups thing, Ben in our Discord reminds us that local backups used to have app binaries in them. They do not anymore.
Oh, okay.
So I knew there was something in my head that it was like, oh yeah, no, there was a reason to do it locally, but that doesn't matter anymore.
It makes sense not to put them in there.
So I would just let your 2 phones talk to each other, and unless you want to nuke and pave your phone and truly start from scratch. I did that 2 phone versions ago. It was
advantage to it?
Yeah, man.
Okay.
Yeah, because it was after Apple had moved to the where you really could just have one home screen, right?
Okay.
And then have the app library. Once they added the app library, I only have one home screen, and then I just search for apps in the app library or with Spotlight to launch them. I don't have. I used to have 8 pages of apps
and folders and
all that.
I've got all that.
It was So wiping my phone and starting from scratch allowed me to absolve myself of all my past sins in terms of app management and organization. So perhaps this is a reason for one or more of you to choose to do the same thing.
Yeah. I never thought about it with the phone. I mean, I get it on the computer. Totally get it. Because I had the 18 or 2019 last Intel MacBook Pro 16, and I had more problems with that thing. I was getting the blue screen of death, and it would just freeze up on me and all that. And I took it back to Apple and got a new one.
Yep.
And the new one was doing the same thing, and I went, oh, something's wrong. And I nuked and paved and started from scratch. So whatever had gone from previous versions into that one, it was making a mess of things.
Yeah.
And so I get it for the MacBook. I didn't realize that the phone was as
I really appreciated just starting from scratch, and I only installed apps that I wanted. I think this was my 12.
I'd lose 200 apps if I did that. Dave.
That's the point. Exactly. I stopped using Waze because I realized that Apple Maps had actually gotten good.
Yeah.
So
ditto. Not the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So it makes a difference.
When you're using Apple Maps, people, please report hazard ahead or hazard here, speed check, that kind of stuff. It can do it just like Waze, but not as many people are using it.
No, not as many people are using it. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Although Siri, once again,
Yeah.
Hey, Siri, report a hazard at this
Oh.
location. I can't do that while you're in the car. Are you kidding me?
That's the whole point. Well, I should try that. My habits are not to do it with voice, but I definitely should do it with voice.
Yeah.
So I'll try that the next time I see something. Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Hey, Gary has a question, Pete. Gary,
does.
Gary says, does the Photos app need to be open on my Mac in order for it to check for duplicates, or does it do that in the background regardless?
Gary, here's your answer. Okay. So I actually looked at that, looked for this, and I did find an answer. It says if you're using Ventura or later, your duplicate photos will automatically appear in the duplicates album, and that should happen in the background, and you don't have to do anything particular within the app. As mentioned in the remove duplicate photos in Photos on Mac, which is a link I sent him, you can then merge any duplicates found by doing the following. In the Photos app on your Mac, click Duplicates in the sidebar, select the duplicates you want to merge, click Merge in the number of duplicates. And, oh, by the way, if you have, say, two duplicates, or two photos, meaning each one's duplicate, not one more duplicate than the other, you...
Two sets of duplicates.
Yeah. If you delete one of the duplicates, guess what goes away? The
Both
other
of
photo, because it's no longer
because it's no longer a dupe, but it didn't
not showing-
actually delete it. It just doesn't show it in the interface
Yeah, you're
anymore.
like, did I delete it? Oh, yeah,
Right.
it's not in the duplicate.
Oh,
folder.
that's smart. So it is live updating, essentially.
Yes.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
good. All
So-
right. Okay.
But yeah, I almost had I thought a self-inflicted stupidity. When
Yeah. Well, things that you delete are
Yeah.
in the deleted photos for 30 days.
Right.
So, yeah. So there's that.
But yeah, and then the other thing that I found that I'm doing more and more, especially when you get a photo that's like 1.4 megabytes and then 960K, I delete the higher one.
Yeah.
You know, with the 1.4 meg, leave the 960K because
Oh.
my eye is not seeing the difference. I know, but these are photos that I'm not going to go make a poster out of.
Right. Right.
Okay,
Oh,
they're just,
how do you know that? Storage is so cheap, man.
that's true. But it says it right there in the bottom right of the duplicates folder. When you're looking at the two photos, it'll tell you the size of each photo.
I know.
But okay, I thought you were asking how did I know that would
No, how do you know that what you're not going to want to do in the future?
yeah.
That's what I'm asking.
No, for the some of them for sure. There's just no way I don't ever want to print that photo. In fact, I should probably delete them both and be done with it. But that's
Yeah. All right. Let's see. Brian has a question, and he's asking about his Kindle, but really, I think this is just one of those things that's good to talk about. He says, I misplaced my Kindle over 2 years ago and received a new one last Christmas as a replacement. I stumbled across the old one.
Found.
That's how you know you're going to find it once you replace it.
Yep.
He says the battery was dead, but I plugged it in and charged it to 100%. It lost about 10% in the following week. He says, which seems a little high for a Kindle that's just sort of sitting there, but I'm sure the battery probably took a hit from the long time between charges. I charged it up again to 100%, but I'm wondering if charging it back up to 100% from a variety of charge levels might help to recondition the battery. Do you have any suggestions? Yeah. So congrats, first of all, on getting your old Kindle recharged. Just the other day, I finally threw out an old Kindle that I could not get the battery to come back to life on. I know I could replace the battery in it, but I was like, we have enough Kindles for everybody. And I was like, yeah, no, I'm just not going to do it. But I tried for months to get this battery to, because like the light would come on, it was charging, but it never, and I went through anyway. So congrats on that. If it were me, and if let's say my Kindle did come back to life, or any device I had with a battery in it came back to life after being dead or just being used for a while, what I would do, and this is just general advice for bringing a battery back to life, or conditioning it after you have, I would charge it to 100%. Then I would let it drain down to 0 again, but do not let it stay there. Like as soon as it hits 0 or even 1%, but you really kind of want it to get to 0, immediately charge it again and get it back up, and do that a few times. That's what's going to condition the battery. That's what's going to, for lack of a better term, teach the battery what its actual capacity is. Because the battery circuitry and software is making a guess as to where it is when it says 80%, it's making some educated assumptions, for lack of a better term. And so you want to get that taken, you want to get that out of the way. You want to show it, here's what 0 is, here's what 100 is, and then it'll start to kind of work a little bit better. So yeah,
I would think, I don't know, that Amazon puts in there some smart circuitry to prevent overcharging.
Yes.
And that
Oh,
sort of
for
thing as
sure.
well. So okay, yeah. Because
Yeah,
I got someone, mom's 97 in a nursing home, and her communication with the outside world is mostly via iPad.
Yep.
And
Yep.
one of them told her, now, you can't leave your iPad plugged in all the time; it'll ruin the battery. And I'm like, yeah, Mom, you're really okay. Leave it off for a day or two. That's fine, but it's not going to overcharge. There's circuitry in there to prevent it from hurting the battery by overcharging. And there's a different reason, not to leave it on all the time, on the charger all the time.
Yeah, it's not going to overcharge, but it will.
It doesn't learn how to let those electrons flow.
When I moved Lisa over to my old M1 Air, I knew that she was going to leave it plugged in 98% of the time. It replaced a Mac Mini, but now she just has one machine. When she travels, she just brings it with her, and that's great. I started thinking, do I really want this battery sitting at 100% all the time? So I did install an app that we have talked about on the show called AlDente, and I now understand it because I've used it. It's from App House Kitchen, and I'll put a link in the show notes. In fact, we will call this our first cool stuff found of the week. I have a couple more that we'll talk about, but what's cool about it is you tell it, like with her, and there you can go far deeper and far more granular than what I'm about to describe. But what I did for hers is I said, okay, well, what are its sort of defaults for a machine that's going to be used like hers? And it said, great, let it go. I think it said 70% or it said 60, and I chose 70. It's like, okay, when her machine gets to 70%, even when it's plugged in, somehow AlDente, through its magic, tells the Mac that it is no longer plugged in. And so it just doesn't charge. But it runs off of the charger somehow. Like it, and I can leave it plugged in to her dock, which then gives her keyboard and her, large display, like all of those things. It lets you have the best of both worlds. And then if you know that you're going to take it and go use it, you can tell it, oh, hey, power up. And it will, charge as fast as it can up to 100. And then, you take it with you and it's 100 and you're good to go. So, and then you can also do this conditioning that we're talking about here. So, while yes, Apple's battery tech is way better than it used to be, and they say that this kind of thing isn't necessary, I don't know. Like, if I'm going to leave it plugged in all the time, it seems like 70% might be a good place to leave it. So, I've been using AlDente on her machine, and so far, so good. So, yeah.
That's cool.
I mentioned that I have, and I'll put a link in the show notes. I mentioned that I have another cool stuff found to share, and I'm gonna do it, Pete. I'm gonna go back to episode 1.
We said we'd go off on a tangent. Let's take one. Why don't you tell them about MenuMeters, John?
MenuMeters. That's I've done actually I think I did a Monday's Mac Gadget. This is actually
Monday's Mac Gadget, and of course MacObserver.com.
Oh, absolutely. Can't forget that.
No,
MenuMeters
My
gives
PR
you.
guy tells me I need to say that a lot, so there you go.
Okay. So MenuMeters, what it does is it gives you a lot of information about what's happening with your system, and it puts it in the menu bar, and it does it with, I would say, probably as little it's very elegant, as little real estate as possible, but it tells you what's going on. So there's one for drives. I have it set up so it has, a green light and a red light to show reading and writing. There's another one that shows network statistics like upload and download bandwidth, and that's that I think is very useful.
Especially for those of us that came from the external modem days and got used to seeing lights flicker for activity.
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
So this gives you the throughput, which can tell you, is your provider, or the server that you're talking to.
All right. Okay. Well, I couldn't resist. I did, as I was sort of listening through to that first episode. We did not call it Cool Stuff Found back then. It took probably, I don't know, a year for us to come up with that name for the segment. But sure enough, that was the first thing that would be considered Cool Stuff Found, was MenuMeters. That doesn't work anymore on current Macs. It was from Raging Menace software, I think. But there is a fork that I found of MenuMeters that will work up to Big Sur. Of course, we use iStat menus nowadays, and that is up to date for, I think they've even got Sonoma working under iStat menus. So I'll put a link to all of this in the show notes, but I figured I'd let us do that. I got a couple more cool stuffs found. Actually, you want to share? No, we'll do that in a future episode. It's fine. We're in cool stuff found. We'll just stay here. It's going to be fine. We have one that is really interesting. Saurabh in our Discord at macgeekgab.com/Discord, somebody was asking about automating the setup of a new Mac, and Saurabh has created what I will call a cool stuff found or cool stuff made. He says, I've got 2 scripts that automate setting up my Mac, a brew file that uses Homebrew to install every app I need in one command, and then a shell script that runs the defaults commands to configure my apps and system preferences to my liking. And the best part is both of these are available for free on Saurabh's GitHub, and he says, feel free to copy or use them as inspiration. And of course, I put a link in the show notes. So Saurabh, thank you for creating that. Thank you for sharing those with us here. Very, very cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy. It's crazy. I have another one that came up in our Discord. PorthosJon, someone was asking, David Klemkin said, okay, look, posted a picture of his MacBook Pro's screen, or his laptop screen. I don't know which computer it was. I think it was a MacBook Pro. And it full of not only fingerprints and, all the smudge that gets on there, but very clear representations of the keyboard. Right, exactly. And that's because the oils from our fingers gets on the keyboard, and then the tolerance between the keyboard and the screen when the Mac is closed means that the screen often touches the keyboard and that oil transfers. And so there are lots of things that can be used for this. PorthosJon suggested one called GhostBlanket, which actually looks pretty cool. It is a microfiber cloth that doubles as a cleaning cloth and sits there. Now, I had used something like this in the past, and then the tolerances got so tight with my titanium PowerBook that I couldn't close it. Obviously, things have evolved since the titanium PowerBook, and lots of folks were saying that these ghost blankets were their preferred way to do it. I'd not seen these, around, so I was happy to see them kind of back, and they've got them. Yeah, 13, 14 is one size, and then 15 inches is kind of the other side. The other size.
That in a heartbeat.
Yes, yeah. Now, Pete, you were just showing me here in the studio. You've got one that's like a plastic.
So yeah, it's I'll hold it up for the screen, but it's it's just a plastic mold of the keyboard with the cutout for the power button, because that's also a fingerprint unlock on this particular
And
machine.
do you leave that on your keyboard even while you're typing on it?
I do. And
so doesn't that then get the oil from that thing onto your screen?
It does.
Okay.
And the oil's getting on the screen either way. There's just no two ways about it. But it actually came, and I have a case on my MacBook Pro 16 because I travel so much.
Sure.
And my other MacBook Pro 13 was, even though it was in a backpack that's padded and it has that computer compartment, it was still getting scratched up a little bit. I thought, you know what, I'm going to protect this one. So I put a clear plastic case on it, and this keyboard cover came with the case, and I thought, well, this is silly. I'll never use this. I'll put it on and see how I like it. And you know what? I don't even notice it, A. And B, I'm much less worried about spilling liquid into my keyboard with this.
Okay. So that's to protect the keyboard more than the screen.
More than the screen,
yeah, that makes sense.
It also came with a screen protector, which oddly enough, I thought I would use it for a couple of days and rip it off. I've left it on there. When I turn the computer off, I can see the bubbles and you just can't get it perfect.
Yeah.
There's no matter how much dust removal you do before you put it on, there's going to be a speck under there.
Sure.
I don't see it when the screen is on, but when I turn everything off, I can still see the imprints of the oils
of the thing,
on the keys on the screen. And you know what? That's okay because it's on the screen protector. So
I wonder if you could use one of these ghost blankets in between, because the ghost blanket is a microfiber cloth, but it's built to sit in between. You put it on your keyboard before you close your Mac.
It would work perfectly. Yeah, there's no doubt in my mind because I use special alcohol screen cleaning.
Yep.
Wet dry side, and I use that to clean the screen, and that of course takes the oil.
But I'm just saying, like, if you use the ghost blanket, then it wouldn't even get on the screen in the first place, right? Because it acts as that insulator between the two. Yeah, interesting.
Absolutely.
Hey, I use Zoom a lot, like I think a lot of us do. They added a new feature for, at least for free for now, that they call the Zoom IQ, which is it listens to, so you have to give it permission to listen to your meeting. So bear that in mind. But it listens to your meetings, does a transcript of it, and then does a summary based on the transcript that gives you like a high-level summary of the meeting and talks about who said what. And, this person, like Dave committed to get this part done by such and such a date. Adam, agreed to do this. Like it's a really handy thing, and you can have it sent automatically to all recipients, or you can get it and then publish it, on your own, or however you want to share it around on your own. But it's a pretty cool thing. And I've put a link in the show notes to where you can go and turn it on for your Zoom account. You can have it start automatically, or you can just enable it and then turn it on, case by case for each meeting. I will say that it is more valuable when you have it on for the entirety of a given meeting. So think about that, because it gives it the full context. Yeah. And then I got one more, Pete, not from me, but from Andrew Woodward, who talked about this. It's the Meross Smart Wi-Fi lamp for desktop. He says, I grabbed one of these off Amazon recently. I'm very impressed. It works great with HomeKit with no bridge required. I use it in my home theater. It illuminates the middle table but doesn't impact the big screen. And it's a desk lamp that you got to look at the picture of it. It really just looks like two pieces of two poles. But the lamp is in sort of the two poles at a right angle, and you can adjust the angle so it's not stuck at a right angle. Yeah. But works with HomeKit and Amazon and Google and Smart Things, and you can.
The LEDs are within the horizontal crossbar.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. That's the right way to say it. Yeah, and you can set the different. It's not. It's only. I'll say it's not color, but you can set the temperature of the. Thing. So yeah. So I don't know. I'd never heard of this. I guess I'd heard of Meross before, but I'd never seen these lamps. And it looks you can control it with your phone or
what kind of price are they getting for it? I missed that when you had it.
I thought I had it up on here.
It was up near the top, I thought.
Was it up near the top? Shop. I'll just click shop. How about I do that? Shop now. Oh, they're gonna make me
10% off.
Yep. I don't know, Pete.
It's hidden.
It's hidden. Yep.
They're giving it away today only.
Yeah, that's right.
30 seconds.
That's right. Oh, that's right. What do we call it? The smart LED lamp for desktop. Where the heck is it? There it is. Nope, that's the floor lamp. Pete, I don't know.
The lamp was $52.
Okay, so it's going to be less than $52. Yeah. So I don't know, man. Smart.
Sorry, I'll quit asking questions.
No, it's a really good question, Pete. This is actually one of the things I like about having you here. But I don't.
Supposed to only ask questions you know the answer to, though.
No, you're only supposed to ask questions that I know the answer to.
Well, there's that. Right. I'm sorry. Forgot the cardinal rule today,
the
Dave.
Rule. That's right. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know.
No stump the dummies allowed. No.
Yeah, it's like maybe it doesn't exist anymore. I don't know. He said he got it on Amazon. Wasn't that what I said? He says, I recently grabbed one of these off of Amazon. Okay. Well, I'm not finding it on Amazon, but I'm sure it's there. So, yeah. Well, that's going to, someone will find it. Meross, I want to look, desk lamp. It's got to be there. The smart desk lamp.
Exactly.
Kind of it.
Yeah, $38.96 on Amazon with a $3 coupon.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Nice find, Pete. Thank you.
Even a blind squirrel.
I will put this into the show notes. Where are you finding it? Well, you're going to have to put your link in because I found it for $43.51, Pete.
Okay.
So
I found it for $42.99, but at $38.96 with.
Cool. Great. Amazing. That's what we're going to do. And for the 1,000th time, we're going to bring the band back in. Actually, it's probably more like the 1,000th first because I feel like there was at least one episode where we brought the band in and then, it was like, wait, there's more to talk about. Let's talk. And then we bring the band in again. So see, there you go. Now we're just doing it. But now we're just doing it gratuitously though, Pete.
Yeah, right.
Now we're just
I've told you 1,000 times, Dave, not to. Of course I haven't because I haven't been here that long.
No.
But if I had been.
That's right. That's right. I think I am the only person who has been here for all 1,000 episodes because there were a few interviews we did with Paul Kent leading up to Macworld Expos that we published as, as Mac Geek Gabs, but John was not. There was at least we did several of them, and John was here for some of them, but not all of them. I think I'm the only one that's made it for all of them. My streak remains alive, and I intend for that to continue. So I'm going to knock on wood because what would a Mac Geek Gab episode be without me getting superstitious?
Without the geek.
Well, no, without me being superstitious and knocking on wood about something.
There's that too. The geek in chief.
Geek in chief. Yeah, there you go. Jeez. All right, folks. Thank you. I know we said it a lot during the episode, but thank you. It's been awesome being able to do this. No plans to stop. In fact, I feel like in a lot of ways we're just getting going again. We're really we've got a different pacing, and I'm loving it. And from what I'm hearing from you folks, you're loving it too, and it's fantastic.
Thank you for the warm welcome, everyone. That you allow me into your ears every week, so to speak.
Absolutely, and it doesn't have to just be your ears. One thing that you really can do for us that we'd love to ask you to do is share the show with a friend.
Do it now.
Yep. Share it. Just tell somebody about Mac Geek Gab. That really is one of the best things you can do.
Have you done it yet?
Did you do it yet, Pete?
No.
I just told them.
These people, have they done it yet?
Okay,
pause the show right now. Stop. Go share it, then come back and listen to the end of this.
Don't make me pull the band out again.
That's right.
That's right. Yeah. You know what? That's the cool part is you have the option of pausing the band. You can control that. That's right. Yep. So pause the band, tell somebody about it, and then resume.
Okay. Did you do it yet?
They're
Why
back.
not?
They did. They did it.
Oh,
I think
good.
they did it, Pete.
Yeah,
We got good people here. It's
Right?
good. Yeah. Thanks to all of you. Thanks to our friends at CashFly for providing the bandwidth to get this episode and almost all of our episodes from us to you. I think we probably in episode, I don't know, right about episode 50, maybe we started working with them, maybe even earlier than that. Good. They've been great partners. Thanks to all of our sponsors. You can visit macgeekup.com/sponsors to learn about all of them. Of course, thanks to linkedin.com/MGG for being a sponsor today. Check out Pete's other show, So There I Was. Check out my other shows, Gig Gab for working musicians, Business Brain for entrepreneurs. And if you want some merch, macgeekup.com/merch. There's always something we say. This is not the 1,000th time. We didn't start saying this right away, but one of my favorite moments that we got on tape, so to speak, was from episode 772 that we recorded at MacTech before the last MacTech before all the COVID stuff kept us from going to MacTech for a while. And that's when we all got to say this nice little thing together. So we'll let that happen again. And maybe the next time we're all together, we'll update this recording. So have fun, take care of each other, share the show, and
Don't get caught!
made on a Mac.
I think if you include everyone's voice, that may be the 1,000th time.
That may be. That's right. Yeah, that's right. And I said Mac Tech. Ben said
Mac
that
Stock.
it's Mac Stock, of course. So
I meant what you knew.
turns out I got caught.